My phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. the night before my son's wedding. The message made my hands shake so violently that I almost dropped the phone onto my bedroom floor. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. For 18 months, I'd watched my son Marcus plan a wedding I wasn't really invited to. Not because of drama or family conflict, but because of something far more complicated. Something that would make the text I received that Thursday night the most shocking moment of my 58 years on this earth. That night, sitting in my small Denver bedroom with the lamp casting shadows on the walls, I read the message over and over again. Each time, new tears formed. Relief. Vindication. Overwhelming sadness. And above all, a mother's desperate love for her child who had been walking toward a cliff edge while I screamed warnings he refused to hear. The text was long, raw, and it began with 4 words I'd been praying to hear: "Mom, you were right." But to understand why those words meant everything, you need to understand the journey that brought us to that moment. A journey that started 7 years earlier, on a perfect April Sunday when my son came out to me. Marcus came out when he was 19 years old. I was folding laundry in our small Denver apartment, watching some forgettable TV show, when he walked in and sat down across from me. His hands were trembling. My son, my beautiful, sensitive boy who had always been able to talk to me about anything, looked absolutely terrified. "Mom," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need to tell you something. I'm gay." I put down the towel I was holding and looked at this person I had raised and loved for 19 years. In that moment, I felt nothing but pure, unconditional love. His sexuality didn't change who he was. I stood up, walked over to him, and pulled him into a tight hug. "Okay," I said simply. "Thank you for trusting me with this. I love you exactly as you are. Now, do you want pizza or Chinese food for dinner?" He pulled back, staring at me with wide eyes full of tears. "That's it? That's your reaction? What else should my reaction be? You're still Marcus. You're still my son. This doesn't change anything about how much I love you." That's when he started sobbing. Big, gasping sobs that shook his whole body. I held him while he cried, and I realized he'd been carrying this fear for so long, terrified that I would reject him. We ordered both pizza and Chinese food that night. We stayed up until 2 a.m. talking about everything. When he'd first realized he was gay. The fear he'd been carrying. His worry about telling his father. "You haven't told your father yet?" I asked carefully. Marcus shook his head. "I wanted to tell you first. But I'm going to tell him this week." I wanted to warn him. I wanted to prepare him for what I suspected would be Derek's reaction. My ex-husband was rigid, religious in the judgmental way rather than the loving way. But I also didn't want to poison the well. Maybe Derek would surprise me. He didn't. 3 days later, Marcus came back to my apartment at 10 p.m., his eyes red and swollen from crying. He told me I was going to hell, Marcus said, his voice hollow with shock. He said I was choosing to sin, that I was no longer welcome in his home. He said if I insisted on living this lifestyle, then I was choosing to lose my family. He said I was dead to him. I felt rage like I'd never felt before. The man I'd once loved, the man who had helped create this beautiful person, was willing to throw him away because of who he loved. That night, I made a decision that would change both of our lives. I filed for divorce from Derek 3 months later. Our marriage had been dying for years anyway, suffocated by Derek's need to control everything, his inability to show real vulnerability, his belief that love came with conditions. Marcus and I built a new life together. We had Sunday brunches every week. We texted daily. He called me when dates went badly and when they went well. We became not just mother and son, but genuine friends. Marcus graduated college with honors at 22. He got a job at a design firm downtown. He dated various guys, each relationship teaching him something about what he wanted. By the time he turned 26, he'd settled into himself in this beautiful way. He was confident in his identity, successful in his career, living authentically. He marched in pride parades. He volunteered with LGBTQ+ youth organizations. I was so incredibly proud of him. Then, at a gallery opening downtown, he met James Montgomery Barrett III. "Mom, I think this might be it," Marcus told me the next day, his voice full of wonder. "I think this might be the one." When Marcus brought James to Sunday brunch 2 weeks later, I understood the appeal immediately. James was objectively gorgeous, tall with dark hair perfectly styled, wearing a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. But more than his looks, James was charming. He asked thoughtful questions about my work. He complimented my taste in books. He laughed at my jokes with genuine warmth. After James excused himself to take a phone call, Marcus leaned across the table with this enormous smile. "So? What do you think?" "He's wonderful," I said honestly. "Very charming." And I meant it. But there was something nagging at me. Something I couldn't quite articulate. Something in the way James's smile didn't always reach his eyes. Something in the slight tension in his shoulders when Marcus reached over to hold his hand under the table. Something in how quickly he'd pulled his hand away when the waiter approached. Before we continue, I need to pause for just a moment. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a second to hit that like button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels around the world. Also, let me know what's grabbed your attention the most so far. Was it Marcus coming out, his father's rejection, or the mysterious James? And please, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more incredible true stories like this one. Trust me, what's coming next will blow your mind. Now, let's continue. Over the next few months, Marcus and James became inseparable. Marcus would call me gushing about their dates, the fancy restaurants, the weekend trip to Aspen. It was a whirlwind romance. But that nagging feeling never went away. It grew, fed by small observations. James never posted photos of them together on social media. His Instagram was full of professional headshots and charity event photos. But none of Marcus. Meanwhile, Marcus's Instagram was suddenly full of couple photos, though always with Marcus taking the picture so only James's face was visible. When I gently mentioned this, Marcus had an explanation ready. "James is private, Mom. His family is very traditional, and he's not ready to be fully out professionally. It's about protecting his career until he's in a more secure position." 6 months into their relationship, Marcus called me about meeting James's parents. He tried to sound excited, but I could hear the strain. "They're flying in from Connecticut," Marcus explained. "The thing is, they think I'm James's roommate and business associate. James isn't out to them yet. His family is very conservative, old money, deeply religious. So for this weekend, I'm just his friend." My stomach dropped. "Marcus, are you okay with this?" "I have to be, Mom. I love him. He'll tell them eventually. He just needs to do it on his timeline." After we hung up, I sat staring at nothing, feeling helpless. My son was walking backward into the closet he'd fought so hard to escape. But what I didn't know then was that this was just the beginning. The real nightmare was still months away, and it would involve something I never saw coming, a secret that would make James's reluctance to come out look like a minor issue. A secret that, when I finally discovered it, would force me to make the hardest decision of my life. A secret that involved another person, a legal document, and a web of lies so complex that even I couldn't believe it when I first saw the evidence. Over the next year, I watched my vibrant, confident son slowly fade. It wasn't dramatic. It was death by 1,000 small compromises, each one seeming reasonable in isolation, but together painting a picture that terrified me. Marcus stopped posting photos on Instagram altogether. His once colorful feed, full of pride flags and rainbow colors and joy, became generic shots of coffee cups and sunsets. No indication he was even in a relationship. When I asked about it, he got defensive. James is right to be cautious. His firm has conservative clients. It's strategic, not shameful. But it looked like shame to me. It looked like my son was erasing himself from his own life. Then Marcus stopped attending Pride events. For 3 years, we'd gone together, marching in the parade, volunteering at booths, celebrating openly. But that June, when I asked if he wanted to go, he hesitated. James thinks it's too visible for his career. People from the firm might see photos online. It could affect his partnership track. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Marcus, you've never hidden who you are. Why start now? I'm not hiding. I'm being strategic. There's a difference. Is there? I wanted to ask. But I didn't. I went to Pride alone that year, and every photo I posted felt like a small act of defiance. Marcus stopped volunteering with the LGBTQ+ youth organization he'd worked with for years. I just don't have time anymore, he said, but we both knew that wasn't true. He had time. He just couldn't be publicly associated with anything too gay anymore. Our Sunday brunches became less frequent. James likes couple time on weekends, Marcus explained. When we did meet, James was often there, and while he remained polite and charming, his presence changed everything. Marcus was more careful, more censored. He'd start to tell a story, then glance at James and change the subject. He'd laugh, but the sound was hollow. I was watching my son disappear, and I didn't know how to stop it. The first time I met James's parents was at a firm dinner 6 months into their relationship. James Barrett II was exactly what I expected, silver-haired, booming voice, the kind of confidence that comes from generations of wealth and privilege. His mother Margaret was elegant, with perfect posture and understated jewelry that probably cost more than my car. When James introduced us, he said, "This is Grace Chen, a graphic designer I work with sometimes, and his mother Grace." Strangers. That's what we were supposed to be. I shook their hands and played along, but inside I was screaming. My son was standing 3 feet away, and I had to pretend I barely knew him. I watched James throughout that dinner. How he became stiffer around his parents. How he addressed his father as sir. How he carefully steered conversations away from anything personal. And how, when Marcus's hand accidentally brushed his under the table, James moved away like he'd been burned. Marcus played his role perfectly. The professional colleague. Friendly but not too familiar. Laughing at appropriate moments. Contributing to conversations about design and business but never overstepping. I watched him perform the absence of queerness, and it made me want to scream. After dinner, Marcus came by my apartment looking exhausted. His tie was loosened, his jacket off, and he collapsed onto my couch with his eyes closed. "That was harder than I thought it would be," he admitted quietly. "You shouldn't have to do that," I said, sitting beside him. "You shouldn't have to pretend to be someone you're not. It's temporary, Mom. James is going to tell them soon. He promised." "When?" Marcus opened his eyes and looked at me. "I don't know. But it will happen." I wanted to say so many things. I wanted to tell him that temporary was starting to look permanent. That promises without timelines were just wishes. That he deserved someone who was proud to love him, not someone who hid him like a shameful secret. But I could see how fragile he was, how desperately he needed to believe in James's promises. So I just nodded and changed the subject. 3 months later, they moved in together. The loft was beautiful, expensive, with floor-to-ceiling windows and mountain views. James's parents had helped with the down payment as an early inheritance, Marcus explained excitedly as he gave me the tour. But what caught my attention was the layout, a master bedroom with a king bed, and a second bedroom set up as an office with a pull-out couch. "Why the guest bedroom setup?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Marcus's face tightened. "James's parents visit sometimes. It's easier if they think we have separate rooms. We'll convert it once he comes out to them." The apartment was gorgeous but felt like a stage set. A performance space rather than a home. Generic art prints on the walls. Masculine but neutral decor. Everything carefully chosen to look like a straight bachelor pad. You could walk through every room and never know a gay couple lived there. There were no photos of Marcus and James together. No rainbow flag tucked in a corner. No books with LGBTQ+ themes on the shelves. Nothing that would give away the truth. I helped Marcus unpack his boxes, and I noticed how many of his things didn't make it out of storage. His pride flag. His collection of queer literature. Photos of him at rallies and marches. All of it stayed packed away in the second bedroom closet, hidden from potential view. Just until we tell his parents, Marcus said when he caught me looking at the boxes. Then I'll put everything out. My friends noticed what was happening. Linda pulled me aside after book club one evening. Grace, you need to say something. Marcus is erasing himself for this man. I've tried. He says it's temporary. It's been a year. How much longer is temporary? Patricia had a different perspective. You can't control who he loves or what compromises he's willing to make. All you can do is be there when he needs you. My sister Rosa, calling from Arizona, surprised me with her response. Sometimes love requires sacrifice. Maybe Marcus has decided James is worth these accommodations. But what kind of accommodations were too much? When does love become self-abandonment? I tried talking to Marcus about it directly one evening over dinner at my apartment. I'd made his favorite meal, arroz con pollo, and we were sitting at my small dining table when I broached the subject carefully. Marcus, can I ask you something? And I need you to really think about your answer. He looked up from his plate, wary. Okay. Are you happy? Really, truly happy? Of course I'm happy. I'm in love. But are you happy with the way things are? With hiding your relationship? With pretending to be straight for his parents? With putting away parts of yourself? His jaw tightened. It's not forever, Mom. How do you know? James has been saying he'll come out to his family for over a year now. What if he never does? What if this is just who he is, someone who's too afraid to live authentically? That's not fair. Marcus's voice rose. You don't know what it's like for him. His family is complicated. His father has expectations. His career could be affected. Your family was complicated too, but you chose honesty over comfort. You chose to be yourself even when it cost you your father. Why isn't James willing to make that same choice? Because not everyone is as brave as you think I am, Mom. Marcus stood up abruptly. Because sometimes there are real consequences to coming out. Because James loves me and is trying to figure out how to balance his family and our relationship. By asking you to be invisible? By asking me to be patient? Marcus was shouting now, his face flushed. Why can't you just support me? Why do you have to pick apart my relationship? I love him, and he loves me, and that should be enough for you. It's not about whether I approve of James. It's about whether you're sacrificing too much of yourself for this relationship. You've stopped going to Pride. You've stopped volunteering. You've hidden away everything that makes you who you are. That's not patience, Marcus. That's erasure. I'm not sacrificing anything that matters, Marcus said coldly, grabbing his jacket. And I think I should go. He left without finishing his dinner, the door closing with a finality that echoed through my small apartment. We didn't speak for a week, the longest we'd gone without talking since he came out. That silence felt like a chasm opening between us, and I didn't know how to bridge it without pushing him further away. When we finally reconnected, it was through careful, polite texts. Neither of us mentioned the fight. We pretended everything was fine. But something had shifted. Marcus knew I had serious concerns about James, and that knowledge created a barrier between us that hadn't existed before. I tried to be more careful after that. To bite my tongue. To ask neutral questions and make supportive noises. But inside, I was screaming. Because I could see what was coming. I could see my son walking into a trap, and he wouldn't let me pull him back. What I didn't know was that the trap was so much worse than I imagined. What I didn't know was that James wasn't just closeted, he was hiding something that would make everything I'd worried about seem insignificant by comparison. And I was about to discover exactly what that was. Because 6 months before the wedding, I would make a decision that would change everything. A decision that would uncover a truth so shocking that even I, with all my suspicions, never saw it coming. A truth that involved fraud, deception, and another person whose existence Marcus had no idea about. I spent 3 sleepless nights after my fight with Marcus, staring at the ceiling and wrestling with a decision that felt impossible. Every maternal instinct in my body was screaming that something was wrong. Not just the closeting, not just the hiding, something deeper, something I couldn't see but could feel in my bones. On the 4th morning, I made a choice that would either save my son or destroy our relationship forever. I opened my laptop and typed into the search bar, Private Investigator Denver. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through websites. This felt like a betrayal. Like I was spying on my own child. But another voice in my head, the same voice that had told me to leave Derek, the same voice that had protected Marcus his entire life, said, better to betray his trust than to watch him marry into a lie. I called 5 investigators before I found Teresa Martinez. Her website was professional, her reviews were excellent, and most importantly, she specialized in domestic and relationship investigations with discretion and compassion. When she answered, her voice was warm but businesslike. Martinez Investigations, how can I help you? My name is Grace Chen. I need help with my son's fiancée. I think something isn't right, but I don't have proof. I just have this feeling that won't go away. Come to my office tomorrow at 2 p.m. Bring any information you have, names, addresses, social media accounts, anything that might help. Teresa's office was in a modest building downtown, nothing flashy or intimidating. She was in her early 40s, with kind eyes and an air of competence that immediately put me at ease. Her walls were covered with certifications and a few framed photos of what looked like her own family. I sat across from her desk and told her everything. The hiding, the excuses, the fake straight persona, the feeling that Marcus was disappearing piece by piece. I told her about the firm dinner, about the apartment with the staged guest bedroom, about my son putting his pride flag in a closet. What exactly do you want me to find? Teresa asked, taking notes in a leather-bound notebook. I don't know, I admitted, my voice breaking slightly. Maybe I'm being a paranoid mother. Maybe James is exactly who he says he is, just scared and closeted. But if there's something more, something that could hurt my son, I need to know before he legally ties himself to this man. Before it's too late. Teresa set down her pen and looked at me directly. Mrs. Chen, I need to be honest with you. In my 15 years doing this work, I've investigated dozens of relationships. Most of what I find isn't pleasant. Infidelity, financial deception, hidden addictions. Are you prepared for the possibility that what I find might be worse than you're imagining? I thought about Marcus's face when he'd stormed out of my apartment. I thought about the son I'd raised, the boy who'd been so brave when he came out, now making himself small for someone else's comfort. I need to protect my son, I said firmly. Whatever the truth is, I need to know it. Even if it destroys me. Even if he never forgives me for looking. Teresa nodded slowly. All right. Give me 1 week. I'll start with the basics, background check, financial records, social media analysis. Sometimes the truth is hiding in plain sight. I left her office feeling simultaneously relieved and terrified. I'd set something in motion that couldn't be stopped. Whatever Teresa found, there was no going back. For the next 5 days, I went through the motions of normal life. I worked at the library, helping students find books and organizing the new fiction section. I had dinner with Linda and pretended to care about her book club's latest selection. I texted Marcus brief, neutral messages that he sometimes answered and sometimes didn't. But every night, I lay awake wondering what Teresa was finding. Was I about to discover that James was cheating? That he had gambling debts? That he was planning to use Marcus for some financial scheme? I never, not in my wildest nightmares, imagined what she would actually find. Teresa called me on day 5, earlier than I'd expected. It was 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, and I was at work when my phone buzzed. "Mrs. Chen, can you come to my office? Now, if possible. I'd rather show you this in person." My heart started racing. "Is it bad?" "Just come. As soon as you can." I told my supervisor I had a family emergency and drove to Teresa's office. The trip felt like it took hours instead of 15 minutes. Every red light felt like an eternity. My mind raced through possibilities, each one worse than the last. When I arrived, Teresa had papers spread across her conference table like evidence at a crime scene. She gestured for me to sit, her face grave. "Mrs. Chen," she began carefully, "I need you to prepare yourself. What I'm about to show you it's significant." She slid the first document across the table to me. At first, I couldn't process what I was seeing. The words didn't make sense. My brain refused to accept them. It was a marriage certificate. Official, legal, from the state of Connecticut. James Montgomery Barrett III had married Elizabeth Marie Ashford 4 years ago. I read it 3 times. 4 years ago. That was 2 years before James even met Marcus. "He's married?" I whispered, my voice not sounding like my own. "Legally married, never divorced," Teresa confirmed gently. Elizabeth Ashford, now 34, lives in Boston. She works as an art consultant. According to public records and social media, they married in a private ceremony at the Barrett family estate in Connecticut. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold the paper. "Does Marcus know?" "I don't believe so." "But Mrs. Chen, there's more. Significantly more." She showed me bank records next. Transaction histories, account statements, wire transfer receipts. James has been transferring money to Elizabeth regularly. $50,000 a month. Every month for the past 4 years. $50,000. Every single month. That's $600,000 a year, I said, doing the math automatically, my librarian brain still functioning even as my heart was breaking. Exactly. The transfers are labeled as household expenses and personal support. But Mrs. Chen, they're not divorced. This isn't alimony or a settlement. This is an ongoing arrangement. Teresa pulled up emails on her laptop. I was able to access some communications between James and Elizabeth through, let's just say, investigative methods. In an email from 3 months ago, James writes, "The situation with M is becoming more complicated, but I need you to maintain appearances with my parents for at least another year. I've increased your monthly amount to $55,000 to compensate for the inconvenience." M. Marcus. My son was the situation. An inconvenience. What does maintain appearances mean? I asked, though part of me already knew. James's parents think he's still happily married to Elizabeth. She plays the role of his wife at family events, holidays, important social functions. She wears her wedding ring. She sends Christmas cards signed James and Elizabeth. She maintains the illusion of their marriage. I felt like I was going to be sick. So she knows he's gay? Yes. According to what I've found, Elizabeth has always known. The marriage was an arrangement from the beginning. Her family needed money, their old Boston society, but lost their fortune in the 2008 financial crisis. The Barrett family needed James to appear straight and settled. Elizabeth agreed to play the role of devoted wife in exchange for financial security. And Marcus has no idea. I don't believe so. James has been living a double life. Married to Elizabeth in Connecticut, in a relationship with Marcus in Denver. 2 separate worlds that aren't supposed to touch. Teresa showed me more evidence. Photos from the Barrett family Christmas party 6 months ago, James and Elizabeth standing together, her hand on his arm, both smiling for the camera. Photos from a charity gala, Elizabeth wearing an elegant gown and her wedding ring, introduced in the program as Mrs. James Barrett III. While James was with Elizabeth at that Christmas party, Marcus had spent the holiday alone in their Denver apartment. I remembered because Marcus had texted me a sad photo of himself eating Chinese takeout, saying James had to work over the holidays. Work. He'd been with his actual wife. "There's more," Teresa said quietly. "I pulled Marcus's bank records. I was able to access them because you're listed as his emergency contact at his bank. Remember when he had you co-sign on his first apartment? I found some concerning patterns." She showed me Marcus's statements. Large withdrawals. Transfers to luxury retailers. A $15,000 payment to a wedding planner. A $8,000 payment to a caterer. All from Marcus's personal account. James comes from money, but most of his inheritance is in trusts he can't easily access. His actual salary at the law firm is public record, $180,000 a year. Good, but not enough to maintain his lifestyle in Denver, pay Elizabeth $50,000 a month, and fund a wedding. I believe he's been supplementing his income with Marcus's money. Marcus makes about $75,000 a year, I said. How has James been accessing his accounts? Joint credit cards, probably. Shared expenses that gradually became less shared. Small transfers that add up over time. It's a classic pattern. The victim doesn't notice because it happens gradually, and they trust their partner completely. I stared at the evidence spread across the table. My son wasn't just being hidden. He was being used. Financially exploited. Lied to on a scale I couldn't even comprehend. What do I do? I asked Teresa, my voice barely above a whisper. That's not my decision to make, she said gently. But Mrs. Chen, Marcus needs to know. He deserves to know who he's really planning to marry. He deserves to know that the wedding isn't even legal because James is already married to someone else. I gathered the documents, my hands still shaking, and put them in the folder Teresa had prepared. Can I get copies of everything? All the evidence? I have a complete file for you. Bank records, the marriage certificate, emails, photos, transaction histories. Everything documented and verified. I drove home in a daze. When I got to my apartment, I sat at my kitchen table and opened the folder again, hoping maybe I'd misread something. Hoping it was all a terrible mistake. But there it was in black and white. James Montgomery Barrett III was married to Elizabeth Ashford. Had been for 4 years. And he was planning a fake wedding to my son while maintaining his real marriage for his family's sake. I needed to tell Marcus. But how do you tell your child that the person they love is a fraud? How do you shatter their happiness, even when you know that happiness is built on lies? I decided to call him and ask him to lunch. Just the two of us. I would show him the evidence calmly, rationally. I would let him see the truth for himself and then support whatever decision he made. I picked up my phone and dialed his number. It rang 4 times before he answered. Mom? He sounded tired. Marcus, can we have lunch tomorrow? Just you and me? I really need to see you. There was a long pause. Is this about James again? I have some information you need to see. Please. One lunch. That's all I'm asking. Another pause. Fine. But Mom, if this is another lecture about how I'm compromising myself. It's not a lecture. I promise. I just need to show you something. Something important. We agreed to meet at our old cafe at noon the next day. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I kept rehearsing what I would say, how I would present the information. I practiced staying calm, staying factual. This was about protecting Marcus, not about being right. The next morning, I put the folder in my bag and drove to the cafe. I got there 15 minutes early and ordered coffee I couldn't drink. My stomach was in knots. Marcus arrived exactly at noon. He looked stressed when he walked in, dark circles under his eyes, his shirt slightly wrinkled. He slid into the booth across from me without his usual hug. "Okay, I'm here. What's so important?" I took a deep breath and slid the folder across the table. "I need you to look at this. Please, just look at it before you say anything." He stared at the folder like it might bite him. "Mom, what is this?" "Just open it. Please." Marcus opened the folder. I watched his face as he began to read. Confusion first, then his eyes widened. Shock. Disbelief. He picked up the marriage certificate, held it closer to his face like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "He's married," Marcus whispered. "James is married to Elizabeth." "I'm so sorry, sweetheart." Marcus kept reading. The bank statements. The transfers. The emails. His hands started shaking. He's been paying her $50,000 a month. To pretend to be his wife. Yes. And the wedding planner charges. These are from my account. His voice was getting louder now, raw with emotion. He's been using my money to pay for our fake wedding while paying his real wife to keep up appearances. Marcus looked up at me, and I saw the exact moment his heart broke. "Mom, did you hire a private investigator?" "Yes. You went behind my back. You investigated James without telling me." "I had to. Marcus, you wouldn't listen. You were so deep in it that you couldn't see." "See what?" "That you were right?" He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Several people turned to look at us. "You hired someone to dig into my relationship because you couldn't just support me." "I did it to protect you." "No, you did it because you can't let me live my own life." Marcus's voice cracked. "Do you have any idea how this feels? To know my own mother trusts a stranger more than she trusts me to make my own decisions?" "Marcus, he's been lying to you about everything. About his marriage, about his family, about—" "I need to go." Marcus grabbed the folder. "I need to think." "Marcus, wait. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk." "But Mom, this." He gestured at the folder. "This is a violation. You understand that, right?" He walked out of the cafe, leaving me sitting alone with my cold coffee and my breaking heart. I'd done what I thought was right. I'd shown him the truth. But in doing so, had I just pushed him further into James's arms? Had I just made everything worse? For the next 2 days, Marcus didn't call or text. I sent him a few messages, gentle, non-pushy, but got no response. I was terrified that he would ignore the evidence, that James would convince him it was all taken out of context or somehow justified. On the third night, my doorbell rang at 9 p.m. I opened it to find Marcus standing there, his face pale and drawn, holding the folder I'd given him. I confronted him, Marcus said quietly. "Can I come in?" We sat on my couch, and Marcus told me everything that had happened after he left the cafe. I went straight to the apartment with the folder. James was home, working on his laptop. I dropped the folder on the table in front of him and said, "Explain this." "What did he say?" Marcus's voice was flat, emotionless. At first he tried to deny it. Said the investigator was lying, that the documents were fabricated. But then I showed him the marriage certificate, and his face just changed. He knew he was caught. Did he admit it? Eventually. He said yes, he was still married to Elizabeth, but that it was complicated. He said they'd been separated for years and the divorce was in process, that it was just a formality they hadn't gotten around to finalizing. Did you believe him? No. Because I asked to see the divorce papers. And he couldn't produce them. He stammered and made excuses about them being with his attorney in Connecticut, but I could see the lie in his eyes. There are no divorce papers because he never filed for divorce. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. Then he got angry. He said I was being paranoid and controlling. That you had poisoned me against him with your suspicions and your hired spy. He actually called you a spy, Mom. What did you say? I asked him about the money. The $50,000 a month to Elizabeth. The emails where he called me the situation. The wedding expenses coming from my account. He said I was misunderstanding everything, that it was all taken out of context. He said Elizabeth needed financial support because of her family's situation, and that it was the gentlemanly thing to do. Gentlemanly, I repeated, disgusted. Then I asked him the real question, the only one that mattered: when were you actually planning to tell your parents about us? Not in theory, not eventually, when? Marcus's voice broke. And Mom, the look on his face. I finally saw the truth. I saw it so clearly. What did he say? He said, Marcus, be realistic. My family would never accept it. They would disinherit me, cut me off completely. My father's health couldn't handle the stress. I thought you understood that. This way, we can be together without all the drama and conflict. Elizabeth maintains the family fiction, and you and I have our real life here in Denver. Isn't that what matters? That we love each other? I felt rage boil up inside me. He expected you to be his secret forever. Yes. And he genuinely thought I would just accept that. Because I loved him. Marcus wiped his eyes. He said, the wedding ceremony is symbolic for us, even if it's not legally binding. It's about our commitment to each other. Why do you need the government or my family's approval to validate what we have? What did you tell him? I told him I needed someone who would choose me. Publicly. Proudly. Not someone who would keep me hidden while maintaining a fake marriage for money and social status. I told him that what he was offering wasn't love, it was convenient companionship with conditions. Pride swelled in my chest. I'm so proud of you. But Mom, I didn't leave. That's the thing. I should have packed my stuff and walked out right then. But instead, I said I needed time to think. I said I needed a few days to process everything. And he was so relieved. He actually smiled and said, take all the time you need. I know this is a lot to take in. But we'll get through it together. Marcus. I know I should have ended it right there. But 2 years of my life, Mom. 2 years of believing in this future together. I can't just turn that off instantly. I understood. Even when your brain knows the truth, your heart needs time to catch up. What are you going to do? I asked gently. I'm going to end it. I'm going to call off the wedding and break up with James. I know I have to. But I need to do it my way, in my own time. Can you give me that? Of course. I'm here for whatever you need. Marcus stood up to leave. I'm staying at David's place for a few days while I figure things out. I need some space from James to think clearly. That's smart. Call me if you need anything. He gave me a brief hug before leaving. Mom? Thank you. For caring enough to dig for the truth, even when I hated you for it. After he left, I felt cautiously hopeful. Marcus knew the truth now. He was planning to end it. Everything would be okay. But I should have known nothing about this situation would be simple. Because what happened next would make everything infinitely more complicated, and far more dangerous than any of us realized. For the next 3 days, Marcus and I texted regularly. He was staying with his best friend David, sorting through his feelings and planning how to end things with James. Our messages were brief but consistent. He'd send me updates about his day, I'd send him encouragement and love. Then, on the 4th day, the messages stopped. I texted him at noon, "How are you doing today, sweetheart?" No response. At 3 p.m., just checking in. "Love you." Nothing. At 6 p.m., I called. It went straight to voicemail. By 8 p.m., I was worried enough to call David. "Grace, hi," David answered, sounding confused. "Is everything okay? Is Marcus there? I haven't heard from him all day." "Marcus?" He hasn't been here since yesterday morning. He said he was going to the apartment to pack more of his stuff and talk to James. I assumed he went back to your place. My stomach dropped. He's not at my place. And he's not answering his phone. That's weird. He's been really good about checking in. Let me try calling him. David called back 5 minutes later. Straight to voicemail for me too. Grace, I'm getting worried. I'm driving to the apartment. Meet me there. I broke several speed limits getting to Marcus and James's building. David arrived at the same time I did. We rode the elevator up in tense silence, and when we got to their floor, I pounded on the door. James answered. He looked perfect as always, dress shirt, slacks, hair styled. But his smile didn't reach his eyes. Grace. David. What a surprise. Where's Marcus? I demanded. Marcus isn't here. And I'd appreciate it if you'd stop harassing us. Harassing you? He's my son, and no one has heard from him in 24 hours. His phone is off. Where is he? James's expression didn't change. Marcus is fine. He's taking some time to think. He asked me to tell you that he needs space from you right now. Your interference has been very damaging to our relationship, and we need time to heal. Let me talk to him. Now. He doesn't want to talk to you, James said coolly. He's asked me to be clear about that. What you did, hiring an investigator, spreading lies about me, has really hurt him. He needs distance. David stepped forward. James, this is bullshit. Marcus would never cut everyone off like this. Not without explanation. I'm just delivering his message. Now, if you'll excuse me. I pushed past James into the apartment. Marcus. I called out. Marcus, are you here? James grabbed my arm. You're trespassing. Leave now, or I'll call the police. I shook him off and ran through the apartment. The bedroom, empty. The office, empty. The bathroom, empty. Marcus's suitcases that had been in the corner were gone. Some of his clothes were missing from the closet. I came back to the living room, my heart pounding. What have you done with him? James pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. You're unstable and you're trespassing. Call them, I said. I want them here. I want to file a missing person report. He's not missing. He's choosing not to see you. That's called being an adult and setting boundaries. David and I left before the police arrived, but from the parking lot, I immediately called 911 myself. I need to report a missing person. My son. He's been out of contact for 24 hours, and his fiancée is acting suspicious. The dispatch operator took my information and said an officer would contact me. An hour later, Officer Martinez called me back. Mrs. Chen, I've spoken with Mr. Barrett. He says your son is safe and simply doesn't wish to communicate with you at this time. Without evidence of foul play or signs that he's in danger, there's not much we can do. Has your son communicated with anyone else recently? I don't know. His phone is off. He's an adult, ma'am. Unless there's evidence he's in danger, he has the right to cut off contact if he chooses. After hanging up, I sat in my car feeling helpless. The police wouldn't help. James was stonewalling me. And Marcus was somewhere, possibly in danger, with his phone off. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Chen, this is David's boyfriend, Ryan. David gave me your number earlier. I think there's something you need to know. What is it? I work in IT at Marcus's design firm. I have access to email server logs. I shouldn't be doing this, but David is really worried, so I checked Marcus's work email account. My heart started racing. And? There's been activity on his account today. Someone sent an email from Marcus's address to his boss saying he was taking emergency family leave and would be unreachable for 2 weeks. Marcus didn't send that email. I don't think so either. The IP address shows it was sent from a location in Connecticut. Not Denver. Connecticut. Where James's family lived. Where Elizabeth lived. Can you send me proof of that? Screenshot the IP address and timestamps? Already done. Check your email. I opened the email Ryan sent and forwarded it to Teresa Martinez immediately, along with a message, emergency. Call me now. Teresa called within minutes. What's going on? I explained everything, Marcus confronting James, staying at David's, going back to the apartment to pack, and then vanishing. The email sent from Connecticut. James is stonewalling. Mrs. Chen, I need to be clear about something. This could be innocent, maybe Marcus really did go to Connecticut to think. Maybe he borrowed James's parents' computer to send that email. Or James has taken Marcus to Connecticut to separate him from his support system. Classic abuser tactic. Isolate the victim, cut them off from friends and family, control the narrative. If Marcus is there without his phone, without contact with anyone who knows the truth about James, he's trapped, I finished. Potentially. I have a colleague in Connecticut who does surveillance work. With your permission, I'd like to have him check the Barrett estate. See if Marcus is there. See if he's there voluntarily. Do it. Whatever it costs. There's one more thing you should know, Teresa said carefully. I did some additional digging after our last meeting. James Barrett has a history. This isn't the first time he's done something like this. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? 4 years ago, before he married Elizabeth, he was in a relationship with another man. Michael Torres, a paralegal at his firm. They dated for about a year. Michael's family reported him missing after he suddenly stopped communicating with them and quit his job via email. What happened to him? He turned up 3 weeks later. Said he'd been thinking at James's family estate in Connecticut. But his family said he seemed different after that, distant, controlled. He broke up with James a month later and moved across the country. I tracked him down. He wouldn't talk to me, but he said one thing, tell whoever's asking to stay away from James Barrett. He's dangerous. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My son is with a dangerous man, possibly being held somewhere against his will, and the police won't help because he's an adult who chose to go dark. I'm sending my colleague to Connecticut tonight. He'll have eyes on the Barrett estate by morning. And Mrs. Chen? Pack a bag. You might need to get there quickly. After hanging up, I called David. I need you to keep trying to reach Marcus. Try his work friends, his social media, anything. If anyone hears from him, I need to know immediately. That night was the longest of my life. I packed a bag as Teresa suggested. I sat by my phone, jumping at every notification. I researched flights to Connecticut, ready to book at a moment's notice. At 3 a.m., my phone finally rang. Teresa. My colleague is at the estate. Marcus is there. He just saw him through a window. Relief flooded through me. Is he okay? Does he look hurt? He appears physically fine. But Mrs. Chen, James is with him. They haven't left the house. My colleague hasn't seen Marcus's phone. In fact, he hasn't seen Marcus hold any electronic device at all. So James has his phone. That would be my guess. I'm going to have my colleague maintain surveillance. But I think you need to come to Connecticut. If Marcus is being manipulated or controlled, he needs to see a familiar face. Someone who can remind him of who he is outside of James's influence. I booked a flight for first thing in the morning. But then, at 6 a.m., 3 hours before my flight, I received a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Chen, this is James. Marcus and I have worked things out. He's asked me to tell you that he needs space from you right now. Your interference, hiring that investigator, spreading lies about me, has been very damaging to our relationship. We need time to heal without your presence. The wedding is still on. Marcus has made his choice. He chooses me. Please respect his wishes and do not attempt to contact him. If you show up in Connecticut or continue to harass us, Marcus has authorized me to file a restraining order on his behalf. I read that message 5 times, my hands shaking with rage. Marcus hadn't written this. The tone was all wrong. Marcus would never threaten me with a restraining order. This was James, using Marcus's silence to isolate him completely. I texted back, if Marcus wants space from me, he can tell me himself. In his own words. With a phone call, not through you. No response. I called Teresa. I need to go to Connecticut. Today. Now. My colleague is maintaining eyes on the estate. He'll keep you updated throughout your trip. But Mrs. Chen, be careful. If James has successfully isolated Marcus, if Marcus has been convinced that you're the problem, this could backfire. He might choose James over you. I don't care. I'm not leaving my son with that man. I made my flight with minutes to spare. During the entire 5-hour journey, I kept my phone on, hoping for any update. Teresa's colleague sent photos, Marcus and James walking in the garden, too far away to see facial expressions. Marcus sitting in a sunroom, alone. James bringing him coffee. It looked domestic. Peaceful. But I knew better. This was control masquerading as care. When I landed in Connecticut, I had a new message from Teresa, my colleague just saw something important. Elizabeth Ashford arrived at the estate an hour ago. All 3 of them, James, Marcus, and Elizabeth, are in the house together now. I don't know what's happening, but this can't be good. Elizabeth. James's actual wife. In the same house with Marcus. What the hell was James planning? I rented a car and drove to Greenwich, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. Teresa had sent me the address. It was in an exclusive neighborhood, the kind where properties are gated and houses are hidden behind tall hedges. But I didn't go to the estate. Not yet. Instead, I checked into a hotel and waited for Teresa's call. It came at 8 p.m. Mrs. Chen, my colleague, just saw Marcus leave the house. Alone. He's walking toward town. This might be your chance. I grabbed my keys and drove to the location Teresa's colleague described. And there, walking down a tree-lined street in the fading light, was my son. I pulled up beside him and rolled down my window. Marcus. He turned, and the expression on his face nearly broke me. Shock. Confusion. Fear. And something else, relief? Mom? What are you doing here? Get in the car. Please. He looked back toward the Barrett estate, then at me. For a long moment, I thought he would refuse. Thought he would walk away. But then he opened the passenger door and got in. And that's when he started to cry. Mom, he sobbed, I don't know what's real anymore. James has been telling me one thing, but nothing makes sense. And Elizabeth is here, and she told me things about James that. What did she tell you? That I'm not the first. That James does this. He finds young men, love bombs them, isolates them from their families, and then. Marcus looked at me with terrified eyes. Mom, she said the last guy, Michael, almost didn't get away. She said James convinced him to transfer money, to cut off his family, to depend on James for everything. And when Michael finally tried to leave, James threatened him. Told him he'd ruin his career, his reputation, his life. Why would Elizabeth tell you this? Because James tried to get me to sign something. A prenuptial agreement. But it wasn't really a prenup, it was a financial power of attorney. It would have given James control over my accounts, my inheritance from my grandmother, everything. Elizabeth saw it and pulled me aside. She said she's trapped in her arrangement with James because of her own financial agreements, but she couldn't watch him do it to someone else. She told me to run. I reached over and took Marcus's hand. We're leaving. Right now. We're going back to Denver tonight. What about my stuff? My phone, my wallet, everything's at the estate. We'll replace it all. Marcus, we need to go. Now. But as I started to drive, I saw headlights in my rearview mirror. A car pulling up fast behind us. James. And the look on his face as he got out of his car told me everything I needed to know. This was about to get very, very dangerous. James walked toward my car with measured steps, his face a mask of controlled fury. In the dim streetlight, he looked different from the charming man I'd met at brunch 2 years ago. This was someone else entirely, someone dangerous. Marcus, he called out, his voice calm but with an edge that made my skin crawl. What are you doing? Get out of the car. We need to talk. I locked the doors immediately and put the car in drive. Hold on, I told Marcus. But James moved quickly, positioning himself directly in front of my car. He placed both hands on the hood and stared at us through the windshield. You're not leaving, he said, loud enough for us to hear through the glass. Marcus, your mother is manipulating you again. Just like she's been doing this whole time. Come back to the house so we can discuss this rationally. Marcus's hand was on the door handle. For a terrifying moment, I thought he might actually get out. Don't, I said firmly. Marcus, look at me. Look at me, not him. Marcus turned to face me, and I saw the confusion in his eyes. The doubt. James had been working on him for days, probably telling him I was controlling, paranoid, trying to ruin his happiness. Your gut brought you out of that house tonight, I said quietly. Your instincts made you walk away. Trust that. Trust yourself. But what if he's right? What if I'm just running because I'm scared of commitment? What if? Marcus, did Elizabeth warn you about that power of attorney document? Yes. And did James try to convince you to sign it without reading it carefully? Did he rush you? Marcus nodded slowly, his eyes filling with tears. He said it was standard. That it would protect both of us. But Elizabeth said, she said it would give him control of everything I own. She said that's how he trapped her. I pressed the point. Then why is he standing in front of this car right now instead of letting you go? If this is really about love, why won't he let you leave to think clearly? James must have sensed he was losing because his demeanor changed. His face softened. He moved around to Marcus's side of the car and knocked gently on the window. Marcus, please. Just give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes to explain everything. If after that you still want to leave with your mother, I won't stop you. I promise. I love you. I would never hurt you. Marcus looked at me. Maybe I should just hear him out. No, I said firmly. That's how manipulation works. He'll say exactly what you need to hear right now. He'll make promises he has no intention of keeping. Marcus, we're leaving. But my phone, my wallet, my ID, everything's in the house. I can't even fly home without my ID. We'll figure it out. We'll get you emergency documents. But we're not going back to that house. I pressed the accelerator, carefully steering around James. He slapped the side of the car as we passed, the sound making both of us jump. In the rearview mirror, I watched him run back to his vehicle. He's following us, Marcus said, panic rising in his voice. I drove faster, taking random turns through the quiet neighborhood streets. James's headlights stayed behind us, matching every turn. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Call Teresa, I said, rattling off her number from memory. Use my phone. Tell her we need help. Marcus dialed with shaking hands. Teresa? This is Marcus Chen, Grace's son. We're being followed by James. We're in Greenwich, Connecticut, somewhere near. He looked at street signs. Near the country club on Round Hill Road. I could hear Teresa's voice, calm and professional, though I couldn't make out the words. Okay, Marcus said. Okay, we will. He ended the call. She's calling the Greenwich police. She said to drive to the police station on Arch Street. She's giving them our description and plate number right now. I made a sharp turn onto a main road, and there it was, the police station, lit up like a beacon. I pulled into the parking lot, and James's car finally peeled away, disappearing into the night. We sat there for a moment, both of us breathing hard. Did that just happen? Marcus asked, his voice small. Yes. And it's proof of everything, Marcus. He wasn't going to let you leave. He was going to force you back to that house. A police officer came out to check on us. Teresa had called ahead. Officer Jennifer Walsh was in her 40s, with kind eyes that reminded me of Teresa. Mrs. Chen? Marcus? I understand you've had a frightening experience. Would you like to come inside and file a report? We went inside, and Marcus told the entire story. The hidden marriage. The financial manipulation. The attempted power of attorney. The days of isolation at the Barrett estate. Elizabeth's warning. James's pursuit. Officer Walsh listened carefully, taking notes. This is concerning, but I need to be honest with you. Mr. Barrett could claim he was simply trying to talk to his fiancée. Without evidence of physical harm or explicit threats, this is difficult to prosecute. He was blocking our car, I said. He followed us through the streets. I understand, and we'll document everything. But Connecticut is a two-party consent state for recording, so unless you have video evidence, it becomes he said, she said. However, I can do something else. I can call the Barrett estate and make it clear that Marcus Chen is not to be contacted or approached. I can inform Mr. Barrett that any further contact will be considered harassment. Please, Marcus said. Please do that. While Officer Walsh made the call, Marcus turned to me. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you. I'm sorry I let it get this far. Don't apologize. You loved him. You wanted to believe the best. That's not a character flaw, sweetheart. That's who you are, someone who sees the good in people. James exploited that. But you saw through him from the beginning. Because I wasn't in love with him. I could see him objectively. And Marcus, this isn't your fault. And that person was about to reach out to us with information that would change everything. We landed in Denver late that afternoon, and Marcus came home with me instead of going back to his apartment. He wasn't ready to face the space he'd shared with James, and I wasn't ready to let him out of my sight. That evening, while Marcus slept off the emotional exhaustion in his old bedroom, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and called Teresa. He's safe, I said as soon as she answered. We're back in Denver. Thank God. I've been worried since you left Connecticut. Did you get his things? Everything. And Teresa, we got something else. A recording of James threatening Elizabeth. He told her if she breaks their agreement, he'll destroy her family financially. Her mother's house, her brother's business, all of it. I heard Teresa's sharp intake of breath. Send it to me. Now. I forwarded the audio file immediately. Teresa was quiet for a moment as she listened. Then, Grace, this is gold. This is evidence of coercion, financial manipulation, and threats. This, combined with everything else we have, could actually hurt him. Could? Not will? The Barrett family is extremely wealthy and well-connected. They have lawyers on retainer who specialize in making problems disappear. But if we're smart about this, if we build an airtight case before we go public, we might actually take him down. What do we need? First, we need Elizabeth to cooperate. She's the key witness. If she'll testify about their arrangement, about James's methods, about the threats, that changes everything. She might not want to. James said he'd ruin her family. Which is why we need to find a way to protect her first. I have a contact, an attorney who specializes in contract law and coercion cases. Let me reach out to her. If we can prove Elizabeth signed those agreements under duress or deception, we might be able to void them entirely. What about Michael Torres? The man James did this to before? I've been trying to reach him. He's been unresponsive to my calls, but I found his sister on social media. She's agreed to talk to me tomorrow. If Michael will come forward, even just to verify the pattern, it strengthens the case exponentially. We spent the next hour strategizing. Teresa would contact her attorney friend about Elizabeth's situation. She would reach out to Michael's sister. And she would compile every piece of evidence we had: bank records, the marriage certificate, emails, the power of attorney document James had tried to get Marcus to sign, and now the recording of James threatening Elizabeth. But Grace, Teresa said carefully, you need to understand something. Even with all of this, James might face minimal legal consequences. What he did is unethical, manipulative, and morally reprehensible. But much of it exists in legal gray areas. The real damage we can do is to his reputation, his career, his social standing. Then that's what we do. We make sure everyone knows exactly who James Montgomery Barrett III really is. After hanging up with Teresa, I checked on Marcus. He was awake, staring at the ceiling. Can't sleep? I asked from the doorway. Every time I close my eyes, I see his face. I keep thinking about all the moments I should have seen the truth. All the red flags I ignored. I sat on the edge of his bed, like I used to when he was a child having nightmares. You're safe now. That's what matters. Am I though? James knows where I work, where I live. He has connections everywhere. Which is why we're going to make sure he can't hurt you or anyone else. Teresa's building a case. We're going to expose him. Marcus sat up, hugging his knees to his chest. What if no one believes us? What if his family's money and power make all of this go away? Then we make enough noise that it can't be ignored. We tell the story everywhere, to the media, to his law firm, to anyone who will listen. We make sure every gay man in Denver knows to stay away from James Barrett. I want to help. What can I do? Over the next 3 days, our case against James started to come together. Teresa's attorney friend, a woman named Sandra Rios, agreed to take on Elizabeth's situation pro bono after hearing the recording. This is textbook coercion, Sandra said during our video call. Marcus and I sat together at my kitchen table, listening. James used Elizabeth's family's financial desperation to trap her in an agreement that benefits only him. The fact that he's threatening to destroy her family if she tries to leave, that's extortion. We can absolutely challenge the contract she signed. But she's in Boston, and she's terrified, I said. How do we protect her while we're building this case? I'll reach out to her directly. If she's willing to work with me, I can file for an emergency injunction that prevents James from taking any action against her or her family while we litigate the contract. It won't be easy, but it's possible. Sandra contacted Elizabeth that same day. To our relief, Elizabeth agreed to cooperate. She'd been looking for a way out for years, and Marcus's near miss had finally pushed her to act. I can't let him do this to anyone else, Elizabeth told Sandra during their first call, which Sandra put on speaker so we could hear. I've watched him cycle through young men for 4 years. Marcus is just the latest. There will be more after him unless someone stops James. How many others have there been? Sandra asked. That I know of? 5. Michael was the most serious, James nearly succeeded with him. The others figured it out earlier and got away. But James learns from each one. He gets better at manipulation. Marcus lasted longer than any of them because James had perfected his approach. 5 men. James had done this to at least 5 men before Marcus. Then came the breakthrough we'd been hoping for. Michael Torres agreed to talk to Teresa. She called me immediately after their conversation. Grace, Michael's willing to come forward. It took a lot of convincing from his sister, but he finally agreed. He wants to make sure James can't do this to anyone else. What did James do to him? Everything. Michael signed a power of attorney similar to the one James tried to get Marcus to sign. Within 3 months, James had drained Michael's savings, about $40,000. He took out credit cards in Michael's name, ran them up to the limit, and left Michael with the debt. When Michael finally realized what was happening and tried to leave, James threatened to tell everyone at their law firm that Michael had stolen money from clients. It was a complete lie, but James had fabricated documents that made it look real. My stomach turned. How did Michael get away? His family hired a lawyer. They managed to prove the documents were forgeries, but it cost Michael his job, his reputation, and nearly his life. He attempted suicide 6 months after escaping James. He's been in therapy ever since, rebuilding his life piece by piece. And James faced no consequences? None. Michael was too traumatized to press charges, and James's family's lawyers made sure everything disappeared. Michael signed an NDA as part of the settlement. He's breaking it by talking to me, but he says he doesn't care anymore. He wants to help. With Elizabeth and Michael both willing to testify, our case suddenly had real weight. We had a pattern. We had multiple victims. We had documentation. Sandra filed a lawsuit against James on behalf of Elizabeth, challenging her contract and seeking damages for years of coercion. She also filed complaints with the Connecticut Bar Association regarding James's conduct, citing the evidence of financial manipulation and threats. And then we went to the media. Teresa had a contact at a Denver investigative news outlet. The reporter, Maria Gonzalez, had done a series on financial abuse in relationships. She agreed to interview Marcus, Michael, and Elizabeth for a feature story. Are you sure you want to do this? I asked Marcus the night before his interview. Once this is public, there's no taking it back. Everyone will know. Good, Marcus said firmly. I want everyone to know. I want every person James might target in the future to see his face and run the other way. And Mom, I want other people who've been manipulated like I was to know they're not alone. That it wasn't their fault. The interviews took place over video call. Maria was professional, compassionate, and thorough. She asked difficult questions, but she also made it clear that Marcus, Michael, and Elizabeth were victims, not willing participants in James's schemes. Michael's interview was particularly powerful. He was 32 now, 5 years removed from his relationship with James, but the trauma was still evident in his voice. James made me feel like I was the problem, Michael said, his face pixelated for anonymity at his request. He convinced me that my family was controlling, that my friends were jealous, that I needed to cut everyone off to prove my love for him. By the time I realized what was happening, I was completely isolated with no money and no support system. If my sister hadn't literally shown up at James's apartment and physically removed me, I don't know if I'd be alive today. Elizabeth's interview focused on the arranged marriage and James's threats. I was 26 and my family was about to lose everything, she explained. James's father approached my father with a proposition. If I married James and played the role of his wife publicly, the Barrett family would pay off my family's debts and provide ongoing financial support. I didn't know James was gay at the time. I thought it was just an arrangement between wealthy families, like people used to do. But when I found out the truth, James made it clear that if I ever exposed him or tried to leave, he would destroy my family financially. He's held that threat over my head for 4 years. Maria's investigation went further. She discovered that James's law firm had received multiple informal complaints about his behavior with junior attorneys and paralegals, all young men. The complaints had never been formally investigated because James's family were major donors to the firm. She found 2 more men willing to speak off the record about brief relationships with James that had ended abruptly when they started asking questions about his family or his finances. Neither had been manipulated to the extent Marcus or Michael had, but both confirmed the pattern: love bombing, isolation, financial enmeshment, and then threats when they tried to leave. The story was scheduled to run in 1 week. Maria wanted to give James a chance to respond to the allegations, which was standard journalistic practice. She reached out to his attorney for comment. That's when things got dangerous again. 2 days after Maria contacted James's attorney, I received a letter via courier. It was from a law firm in Connecticut, not James's firm, but a larger, more powerful one known for representing the ultra-wealthy. The letter was a cease and desist. It demanded that I, Marcus, Teresa, and Sandra Rios stop spreading defamatory lies about James Montgomery Barrett III. It threatened a lawsuit for defamation, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The amount they threatened to sue for? $10 million. "They're trying to scare us into silence," Sandra said when I called her in a panic. "This is a classic SLAPP suit, strategic lawsuit against public participation. They have no intention of taking this to trial. They just want to intimidate you into backing down." "Will it work?" Marcus asked. We were both sitting at my kitchen table, staring at the letter like it might burst into flames. "Not if you don't let it. We have truth on our side, and truth is an absolute defense against defamation. Everything we've said about James is documented and provable. This letter is just bluster." But that evening, things escalated further. Marcus received an email from James. Despite the police warning in Connecticut, despite the pending lawsuit, James had found a way to contact him. The email was short: "Marcus, I'm disappointed that you've chosen to believe lies about me and our relationship. I loved you. I still love you. But if you continue down this path of destruction, you'll leave me no choice but to defend myself. Think carefully about what you're doing. Think about your career, your reputation, your future. Is your mother's vendetta really worth losing everything? J." Marcus's hands were shaking as he showed me the email. "He's threatening me. Forward it to Sandra and Officer Walsh immediately." He violated the no-contact order. But the real bombshell came the next day. Teresa called me, her voice tight with urgency. "Grace, turn on the news. Channel 7. Right now." I switched on the TV to see a press conference. James stood at a podium, looking every inch the respected attorney. His parents flanked him, his father stern and imposing, his mother elegant and composed. Behind them were several other people in expensive suits. "I'm here today to address false and malicious allegations that have been made against me," James began, his voice steady and convincing. "A former partner of mine, Grace Chen, has launched a campaign of harassment and defamation after our relationship ended. Despite my attempts to part ways amicably, Mr. Chen, with the help of his mother Grace Chen, has fabricated stories and manipulated others into supporting his false narrative." My blood ran cold. "I have been faithful in all my relationships," James continued. "The suggestion that I have somehow manipulated or financially exploited anyone is not only false but deeply hurtful. I am a victim here, a victim of a vindictive ex-partner and his overbearing mother who cannot accept that our relationship simply didn't work out." He went on for 10 minutes, painting himself as the victim, Marcus as the bitter ex, and me as the meddling mother. He referenced the law firm's letter, threatened legal action, and positioned himself as someone whose reputation was being unfairly destroyed. "He's getting ahead of the story," Teresa said over the phone. "He's doing damage control before Maria's article comes out." Will it work? It might with some people. But Grace, we have evidence. We have multiple victims. We have documentation. James can spin all he wants, but the truth will come out. That night, Marcus was devastated. "He's going to win," he said, lying on my couch with his arm over his eyes. "He has money, lawyers, influence. We have what? A recording and some bank statements? No one's going to believe us over him." "Yes, they will," I said firmly. "Because Maria's story is airtight. Because Elizabeth and Michael are willing to testify. Because the truth always comes out eventually." Does it? Or does money bury the truth? I didn't have an answer for that. Because honestly, I was scared too. The Barrett family was powerful. They had resources we couldn't match. And James had just shown he was willing to play dirty. But we'd come too far to back down now. The article was set to publish in 3 days. And when it did, one way or another, everything would change. What I didn't know was that someone else was watching all of this unfold. Someone with their own reasons to want James Barrett exposed. Someone who would provide the final piece of evidence we needed to bury James completely. And that person was about to reach out to us with information that would change everything. The email arrived at 2:47 a.m. I only saw it because I couldn't sleep, lying awake and worrying about James's press conference, about the lawsuit, about whether we'd done the right thing by going public. I was scrolling through my phone when the notification appeared. The sender was listed as a friend with an anonymous email address. The subject line read, "I have what you need to destroy James Barrett." My heart started pounding as I opened it. "Mrs. Chen, you don't know me, but I know what James Barrett is. I worked at his law firm for 3 years as a paralegal. I watched him target young men, manipulate them, and discard them when they became inconvenient or when they got too close to the truth. I stayed silent because I was afraid of losing my job, afraid of his family's power, afraid no one would believe me. But after seeing his press conference today, I can't stay silent anymore. I have evidence. Real evidence that will prove everything you've been saying. Financial records he thought were deleted. Emails he thought were secure. Text messages he sent from his work phone that detail exactly what he was doing and why. I also have something else, names and contact information for 3 more victims who've never come forward. Men who were too scared or too ashamed to speak up. If you're willing to meet with me, I'll give you everything. But it has to be safe. James can't know I'm doing this or he'll come after me like he's come after you. Reply to this email with a time and place, somewhere public in Denver, and I'll be there. You need to stop him. Someone has to stop him. A friend." I read the email 3 times, my hands shaking. This could be the evidence we needed. Or it could be a trap, James trying to figure out what we knew, trying to intimidate us further. I forwarded it to Teresa immediately with a message, "Is this real? Could this be James setting us up?" She called me 5 minutes later. I was awake too. Couldn't stop thinking about that press conference. "Grace, this could be legitimate. Law firms always have whistleblowers, people who see unethical behavior and feel guilty about staying silent. Or it could be James trying to lure us into some kind of trap." True. Which is why we meet in the most public place possible, during daylight hours, with multiple people present. If this person is genuine, they'll understand the precautions. If they refuse, we know it's not legitimate. I woke Marcus and showed him the email. His immediate reaction was suspicion. It's too convenient. Right after James's press conference, suddenly someone appears with perfect evidence? Mom, this has to be him. Maybe. But Teresa thinks we should at least find out. What if it's dangerous? We'll meet somewhere very public. The coffee shop downtown, the one with huge windows and always crowded. Teresa will be there. Sandra too. We'll have witnesses everywhere. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Okay. But I'm coming with you. If this person really has evidence, I want to see it. I replied to the email, tomorrow. 2 p.m. The Brew Collective on 16th Street Mall. It's a large coffee shop with floor-to-ceiling windows. Come alone. We'll have people with us for safety. If you're genuine, you'll understand why. The response came within minutes, I understand. I'll be there. I'll be wearing a blue baseball cap and carrying a brown leather messenger bag. I'll order a black coffee and sit at a table near the back. Thank you for being willing to meet. What you're doing is brave. The next day crawled by. Marcus and I tried to act normal. He worked remotely from my apartment. I did research for the library's upcoming literacy program, but we were both just killing time until 2 p.m. Teresa arrived at my apartment at 1:30. She'd brought Sandra Rios with her, and both women radiated professional competence that made me feel slightly better about what we were about to do. I've contacted a friend on the Denver Police Department, Teresa said. Officer Rodriguez will be in the coffee shop in plain clothes. If anything feels wrong, we signal him and he intervenes immediately. We arrived at the Brew Collective at 1:50 p.m. The place was packed, exactly as I'd hoped. Students with laptops, business meetings, tourists taking a break from walking the mall. We chose a table near the front with clear sightlines to the entire space. At exactly 2 p.m., someone walked in wearing a blue baseball cap and carrying a brown leather messenger bag. The person was young, maybe late 20s, with an androgynous appearance that made gender difficult to determine at first glance. They ordered a black coffee and sat at a table in the back, just as described. "That's them," Marcus whispered. "Or him." "Or her," Teresa said. "Stay here. Let me approach first." We watched as Teresa walked to the table and sat down. She spoke briefly, and the person in the cap nodded and pulled out a laptop from the messenger bag. Teresa looked back at us and gave a subtle nod, the signal that she thought this was legitimate. Marcus and I joined them at the table, with Sandra hanging back slightly, keeping watch. Up close, I could see the person was younger than I'd thought, probably mid-20s, with nervous energy and eyes that kept darting to the door. "Thank you for coming," they said quietly. "I'm Alex." I use they/them pronouns. I worked at Barrett, Morrison v. Shaw for 3 years as a paralegal. I quit 2 months ago because I couldn't watch what was happening anymore. "What was happening?" Marcus asked gently. Alex looked at Marcus with something like sympathy. "James has a type. Young, ambitious gay men who are new to the city or new to their careers. People who are vulnerable because they're isolated or because they're still figuring out who they are. He targets them specifically. I watched him do it at least 7 times while I was there." 7? I felt sick. That I know of personally. There could be more. James would befriend them, mentor them, offer career advice. Then he'd ask them out. The relationships always followed the same pattern. Intense and romantic at first, then gradually controlling. He'd encourage them to cut off friends and family, telling them that their loved ones didn't understand their relationship. Then he'd get access to their finances through joint accounts or power of attorney documents. Alex opened their laptop and turned it toward us. I kept copies of everything I could. I knew someone would need this evidence eventually. I just didn't know if I'd have the courage to come forward. The screen showed a folder structure with hundreds of files. Emails. Spreadsheets. Scanned documents. Text message logs. "This is 3 years of documentation," Alex explained. "Financial records showing money transfers from James's victims to his accounts. Emails where he discusses his projects, that's what he called the men he was manipulating. Text messages where he strategizes about how to isolate specific people from their families." Teresa leaned forward. "How did you get access to all of this?" "James used his work computer and phone for personal business. Everything synced to the firm's server. As a paralegal, I had access to partner accounts for legitimate work purposes. I started downloading files when I realized what was happening. It's probably illegal what I did, but I couldn't just let him keep hurting people." Alex pulled up a specific email chain. "This is from a year ago. James is emailing his father about Marcus specifically. Look at what he says." I read the email and my blood ran cold. "Father, I found another suitable candidate. Marcus Chen, 26, graphic designer, recently promoted at his firm. He's been estranged from his father since coming out, which makes him psychologically vulnerable. His mother is his primary support system, but she's just a librarian, no significant resources or connections. He has a small inheritance from a grandmother, approximately $150,000, that he'll have full access to when he turns 30. If I time this correctly, I can have legal control of those assets before they vest. I'm proceeding carefully with this one. The last situation with Michael was too rushed. This time, I'm taking my time to build trust. I estimate an 18-month timeline to full financial integration." Marcus made a choking sound. He targeted me deliberately. Because I was vulnerable. Because of my father. I'm so sorry, Alex said softly. But you need to see this. You need to know it wasn't your fault. James is a predator who calculates every move. Alex showed us more files. Spreadsheets tracking how much money James had extracted from various men. Text messages where he laughed about how easy some of them were to manipulate. Emails to Elizabeth where he casually discussed which project was progressing and which one he needed to abandon. The most damning evidence was a video file. James doesn't know this exists, Alex said. Last year, there was a dinner party at the managing partner's house. James had too much to drink. Someone was recording on their phone, just party footage, but they captured James talking to another partner. He thought no one could hear him over the music, but the phone picked it up clearly. Alex played the video. Poor quality, shaky footage of a party, voices overlapping. Then the camera panned past James, and his voice became clear. Honestly, I don't know why more people don't do this. Gay men are so desperate for love and acceptance, especially ones with daddy issues. You show them a little affection, make them feel special, and they'll give you anything. I've made almost $500,000 over the past 5 years, and none of them have pressed charges because they're too embarrassed to admit they were duped. My father thinks I'm building a respectable facade with Elizabeth, but really, I'm building a portfolio. The other person on the video laughed uncomfortably. Jesus, James. That's cold. It's practical. Why work 100-hour weeks at the firm when I can make money more efficiently? Plus, it keeps my parents happy thinking I'm straight and settled. Win-win. The video ended. We all sat in silence. That's confession, Sandra said, her voice tight with fury. That's admission of fraud, of targeting vulnerable people, of everything. There's more, Alex said. Names and contact information for 3 men who were involved with James that I don't think have come forward. I reached out to them before I contacted you. 2 of them are willing to talk if they know they're not alone. The third is still too scared, but he said he'd provide a written statement if it came to legal proceedings. Alex slid a USB drive across the table. Everything is on here. All the emails, all the financial records, the video, the contact information, all of it. Make copies. Give it to the police, the bar association, the media, whoever needs to see it. Just please, protect my identity. If James finds out I'm the source, I don't know what he'll do. We'll protect you, Teresa promised. You have my word. Why are you doing this? Marcus asked Alex. I mean, I'm grateful, but you're taking a huge risk. Alex's eyes filled with tears. Because my brother was one of James's victims. 4 years ago. Before I even worked at the firm. My brother David met James at a charity event. 6 months later, my brother had given James access to his trust fund and cut off our entire family because James convinced him we were toxic and homophobic. We're not, we're literally all queer ourselves. But James isolated David completely. What happened to your brother? I asked gently. He figured it out before James could drain everything. He came home one day and broke down, told us everything. We got him into therapy, helped him rebuild his life. But he's never been the same. He doesn't date anymore. He doesn't trust anyone. James destroyed something fundamental in him. Alex wiped their eyes. When I saw the job posting at James's firm, I applied specifically to get close to him. I wanted to understand how he'd done it. And the more I saw, the more I realized he was doing it to others. So I started documenting everything. Waiting for the right moment. When I saw your son's story on the news preview, when I saw James's press conference trying to spin himself as the victim, I knew it was time. Marcus reached across the table and took Alex's hand. Thank you. What you're doing, what you've done, it means everything. Stop him, Alex said fiercely. Make sure he never does this to anyone else. We left the coffee shop with the USB drive and hoped for the first time in days. In the car, Teresa plugged the drive into her laptop and started reviewing files. "This is extraordinary," she breathed. "This is everything." Bank records, emails admitting to fraud, the video confession, contact information for more victims. "Grace, this doesn't just destroy James. This potentially brings down the law firm for enabling him. This could trigger bar association investigations, maybe even criminal charges." "How soon can we get this to Maria Gonzalez?" I asked. "I'm calling her right now." Maria agreed to meet us immediately. We went to her office at the news station, and she spent 3 hours reviewing everything on the USB drive. Her expression grew darker with every file she opened. "This is Pulitzer-level investigative material," she said finally. "But I need to verify everything independently before we publish. I need to contact these other victims, authenticate the emails, confirm the financial records. Give me 48 hours. James's lawyers sent us a cease and desist," I reminded her. "They threatened to sue for $10 million. Maria smiled grimly. "Let them try. We have documentation. We have multiple victims. We have a video of James confessing to fraud. This isn't defamation, this is investigative journalism backed by irrefutable evidence. If they sue, we'll bury them in discovery." Those 48 hours were the longest of my life. Marcus and I stayed at my apartment, barely leaving except for necessities. We kept expecting James's lawyers to show up with more threats or for James himself to somehow discover what we had. But nothing happened. The calm before the storm. On the second evening, Maria called. "The story publishes tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. online, front page of the print edition by 7 a.m. I've contacted James's attorney for final comment. I've also reached out to Barrett, Morrison v. Shaw's managing partners." "And Grace?" "I contacted the district attorney's office. They're opening an investigation based on the evidence." "Criminal charges?" "Potentially. Wire fraud, identity theft, financial exploitation of vulnerable adults. If the DA can prove even half of what we have, James is looking at serious time." That night, I barely slept. Marcus tossed and turned in his old bedroom. We were both waiting for morning, for the moment when everything would finally come to light. At 5:50 a.m., my phone started buzzing. Text messages from friends, from colleagues, from people I hadn't spoken to in years. They'd seen the story online. It was spreading. At 6 a.m. exactly, Maria's article went live. The headline read, "Connecticut attorney accused of targeting, defrauding vulnerable gay men in multi-state scheme." The story was devastating and thorough. It included interviews with Marcus, Michael, Elizabeth, and 2 of the additional victims Alex had identified. It included excerpts from the emails, screenshots of the financial records, and, most damning of all, the video of James confessing at the party. The article didn't just expose James. It exposed the culture at his law firm that had enabled him, the complaints that had been buried, the pattern of predatory behavior that had been tolerated because of his family's donations. By 8 a.m., the story had been picked up by national news outlets. By 10 a.m., it was trending on social media. By noon, Barrett, Morrison v. Shaw had issued a statement announcing they'd placed James on administrative leave pending an investigation. By 2 p.m., Elizabeth's attorney had held a press conference announcing the lawsuit to void her coerced marriage contract. By 4 p.m., the Connecticut Bar Association announced they were opening an ethics investigation. And by 6 p.m., the district attorney held a press conference announcing criminal charges, 3 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of identity theft, 5 counts of theft by deception, and 1 count of extortion. James Montgomery Barrett III was arrested that evening at his parents' estate in Greenwich, Connecticut. We watched it on the news, footage of James being led out of the mansion in handcuffs, his father shouting at the police, his mother crying. James looked shell-shocked, like he couldn't believe this was happening to him. Marcus and I sat on my couch, holding hands, watching the man who'd almost destroyed my son finally face consequences. "It's over," Marcus whispered. "It's really over." "It's over," I confirmed. But of course, it wasn't quite over. Because the next morning, I would receive a text message that would complicate everything in a way I never expected. A text message that would lead us to one final confrontation with James Barrett before this nightmare truly ended. The text came at 7:23 a.m., the morning after James's arrest. I was making coffee, feeling something like peace for the first time in months, when my phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. My first thought was that it was another journalist or maybe one of James's victims reaching out. But when I opened the message, my blood ran cold. Grace, it's Elizabeth. I'm using a burner phone because I don't know who's monitoring my communications. I need to talk to you urgently. Not over the phone. In person. Please. It's about James, and it's important. Can you meet me today? I'm in Denver, I flew in last night. I know this seems strange, but I promise I'm not trying to cause problems. There's something you and Marcus need to know before the trial. Before everything becomes public record. Something that changes everything. I stared at the message for a long moment. Elizabeth was in Denver? After everything that had happened, after James's arrest, what could possibly be so important that she'd fly across the country? I texted back, "Why are you in Denver? Why can't you tell me over the phone?" Her response came immediately, "Because what I need to tell you involves legal implications that I can't risk having recorded or intercepted. Please, Grace. I'm at the Marriott downtown. Room 847. Bring Marcus if you want. Bring Teresa or your attorney. I just need you to hear what I have to say." I woke Marcus and showed him the messages. His immediate reaction mirrored mine, suspicion mixed with curiosity. Could this be some kind of trap? He asked. Maybe James's family sent her to try to convince us to drop the charges? Maybe. But Elizabeth helped you in Connecticut. She warned you about the power of attorney. She's been cooperating with Sandra's lawsuit. Which makes this even stranger. Why would she need to tell us something in person that she couldn't tell Sandra? I called Teresa and explained the situation. My instinct says hear her out, Teresa said. But not alone. I'll meet you at the hotel. We'll go up together. If it feels wrong at any point, we leave immediately. We met Teresa in the Marriott lobby at 10 a.m. The hotel was busy with business travelers and tourists, which made me feel slightly better. Nothing too sinister could happen in such a public place. We took the elevator to the 8th floor and found room 847. I knocked, my heart pounding. Elizabeth opened the door immediately, like she'd been waiting right by it. She looked different from the elegant woman I'd seen in photos from Barrett family events. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, wearing jeans and a sweater. She looked younger and more vulnerable. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "Please, come in." The hotel room was standard, 2 double beds, a desk, a window overlooking downtown Denver. Elizabeth gestured for us to sit, then sat across from us, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I need to start by saying I'm sorry," she began, looking directly at Marcus. "I'm sorry I didn't help you sooner. I saw what James was doing to you for months, and I said nothing. I told myself it wasn't my business, that you were an adult making your own choices. But I knew better. I knew what he was, and I let it happen anyway." "You did help me eventually," Marcus said. "You warned me about the power of attorney. You probably saved my life. Only after watching him manipulate you for almost 2 years. That's not something I'm proud of." Elizabeth took a deep breath. "But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because there's something about James that wasn't in the investigation. Something that didn't come up in any of the files Alex gave you or in the media coverage. Something I've known for 4 years but was too afraid to reveal because of what it would mean for me." "What is it?" I asked. "James isn't just a con artist targeting vulnerable gay men. He's running a much larger operation, and the money he's stealing isn't just for his personal use. It's funding something else. Something his father is involved in. Something that, if exposed, would destroy the entire Barrett family legacy. Teresa leaned forward. What kind of operation? Money laundering. Tax evasion on a massive scale. James's father, James Barrett II, has been using his son's relationships as a way to move money through seemingly legitimate channels. The money James takes from his victims doesn't stay with James, it gets filtered through shell companies that his father controls, then invested in offshore accounts. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. Are you saying James's father knew about the fraud? That he was actively involved? Not just involved. He orchestrated it. James is smart, but he's not smart enough to have created this scheme on his own. His father trained him, set up the infrastructure, provided the legal protection. James Barrett II has been using his son as a front for money laundering for at least a decade. Why are you telling us this now? Marcus asked. Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears. Because I'm one of the shell companies. The money James's father pays me every month? It's not just to keep me quiet about the fake marriage. I'm a pass-through entity. Money comes into my accounts from various sources, James's victims, his father's business dealings, overseas investments, and I transfer it to other accounts that James's father controls. I've been an unwilling participant in money laundering for 4 years. Oh my God, Teresa breathed. When James got arrested, I realized his father is going to make him take the fall for everything. James is being charged with fraud and theft, but the reality is much bigger. His father will let James go to prison to protect the larger operation. And I can't let that happen. Why not? I asked, genuinely curious. James tried to destroy Marcus. He's hurt countless people. Why do you care if he takes the fall? Because if James goes to prison for just the fraud charges, he'll be out in a few years and his father will still have his empire intact. But if we expose the money laundering, if we bring down James Barrett II, then we destroy the entire system that's been enabling this. We make sure they can't hurt anyone else. Elizabeth pulled out a laptop from her bag. I have evidence. Bank records showing the money trail. Emails from James's father giving explicit instructions about which accounts to use. Documentation of offshore holdings. All of it. Why didn't you take this to the police yourself? Teresa asked. Because I'm complicit. The moment I reveal this, I'm admitting to 4 years of money laundering. I'm going to face charges too. But I'll take that risk if it means stopping them completely. I just needed you to know first, because Marcus deserves to understand the full scope of what he was caught up in. And because I need your help. Our help with what? I asked. I'm going to the FBI tomorrow morning. I'm going to turn over all of this evidence and cooperate completely in exchange for immunity. But the FBI will want testimony from James's other victims. They'll want to establish the pattern, show that this wasn't just personal fraud but part of a larger criminal enterprise. I need Marcus to be prepared for what's coming. The trial isn't going to be simple fraud charges anymore. It's going to be federal. Marcus sat very still, processing this information. How much money are we talking about? From what I can track, at least $15 million over the past decade. Maybe more. James's father has been very careful about spreading it across multiple accounts and jurisdictions. But I have enough documentation to start unraveling it. Teresa was already on her phone. I need to call Sandra. She needs to know about this immediately. And Grace, Marcus needs his own attorney. Not just for the civil case, but potentially as a witness in a federal criminal case. I know it's a lot, Elizabeth said. And I know you probably hate me for my part in all of this. But I'm trying to make it right. I'm trying to make sure James and his father can't do this to anyone else. Marcus looked at Elizabeth for a long moment. You're really going to risk prison to do the right thing? I've been in a different kind of prison for 4 years, Elizabeth said softly. At least if I go to actual prison, it'll be for making a choice to stop something evil rather than for being too afraid to act. And honestly, I think if I cooperate fully, the FBI will give me immunity. They want James Barrett II more than they want me. I'm just a tool he used. When are you meeting with the FBI? I asked. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. I have an appointment with an agent who specializes in financial crimes. I just wanted you to know first. To give Marcus time to prepare. After we left Elizabeth's hotel room, the three of us sat in Teresa's car in the parking garage, trying to process what we'd just learned. This is bigger than we thought, Teresa said. A lot bigger. If Elizabeth's evidence is solid, this isn't just about James defrauding a few people. This is organized crime. Money laundering. Federal charges that carry decades of prison time. What happens to Marcus in all of this? I asked. He'll be a witness. He'll have to testify about his relationship with James, about the financial manipulation. But he's a victim, not a perpetrator. The FBI will protect him. Marcus had been quiet, staring out the window. Finally, he spoke. I just wanted to fall in love. I just wanted someone to build a life with. How did it turn into this? I reached back from the front seat and took his hand. And that's all a mother ever really wants. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. on the morning of Marcus's wedding to David, my heart full in a way it hadn't been in years. The sun was just starting to rise, casting a golden glow through my bedroom window, and for a moment I just lay there, thinking about everything that had brought us to this day. 3 years ago, I'd received that devastating text, "Don't come to my wedding." Today, I would walk my son down the aisle to marry a man who actually deserved him. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Marcus, "Mom, are you awake? I can't sleep. Too excited. Can I come over for breakfast like we used to?" I smiled and texted back, "Of course. I'll make your favorite." 20 minutes later, Marcus arrived at my door with David. They were both in sweatpants and t-shirts, looking young and happy and completely in love. David hugged me immediately, he always did. He was affectionate and warm, everything James had pretended to be but never actually was. "Mrs. Chen, I'm so nervous," David said, following me into the kitchen. "What if I trip walking down the aisle? What if I cry during the vows? What if everything goes perfectly because you're marrying the love of your life?" I interrupted gently, pulling out ingredients for pancakes. "David, I've watched you two together for 2 years now. You're meant for this." While I cooked, Marcus and David sat at my kitchen table holding hands and talking about the day ahead. The ceremony was at 4 p.m. in the Botanical Gardens, different gardens from where James had planned that fake wedding, a place with no bad memories attached. Just 50 guests, intimate and perfect. "I invited Elizabeth," Marcus said suddenly, looking at me to gauge my reaction. "I hope that's okay." She RSVP'd yes. She wanted to make sure you were comfortable with her being there. I paused, spatula in hand. Elizabeth. The woman who'd been part of James's scheme for 4 years but who'd ultimately helped bring him down. The woman who'd risked everything to expose the truth. "I'm glad you invited her," I said honestly. "She helped save you, Marcus. And she spent the last 3 years trying to make amends. She deserves to see something good come from all that pain." "She's bringing someone," David added. "Her girlfriend." Apparently after the trial ended and she was finally free from James's family, she came out. She said watching Marcus be authentic gave her the courage to stop hiding too. After breakfast, the day became a beautiful blur of activity. Hair appointments, final fittings, last-minute coordination with the wedding planner. Marcus had asked me to help him get ready, and we spent the afternoon in his apartment with David safely sequestered at his best friend's place until the ceremony. As I helped Marcus add just his bow tie, he'd chosen a classic tuxedo in midnight blue. I caught his reflection in the mirror. He looked so happy, so at peace. The haunted look that had been in his eyes during those dark days with James was completely gone. "You look so handsome," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "Mom, don't cry yet. Save it for the ceremony." But Marcus's eyes were glistening too. "I'm just so proud of you." Not just for today, but for everything. For surviving what James put you through. For being brave enough to trust again. For choosing someone who truly sees you and loves you. Marcus turned to face me. I couldn't have done any of it without you. You know that, right? If you hadn't hired that investigator, if you hadn't fought for me when I was too blind to see the truth, I'd probably still be trapped in that nightmare. Or worse. You would have figured it out eventually. You're stronger than you think. Maybe. But I'm grateful I didn't have to figure it out alone. Marcus hugged me tightly. Thank you for being the kind of mother who fights for her child, even when that child is being an idiot. I laughed through my tears. You weren't an idiot. You were in love with someone who didn't deserve you. That's not the same thing. At 3:30 p.m., we arrived at the Botanical Gardens. The ceremony space was breathtaking, an outdoor pavilion surrounded by flowering trees and gardens in full bloom. White chairs arranged in neat rows, an archway covered in flowers at the front, string lights ready to twinkle once the sun began to set. I found my seat in the front row and watched guests arrive. David's parents, warm and welcoming, who'd embraced Marcus from the beginning. David's siblings and their families. Marcus's friends from work and from the LGBTQ+ youth organization he'd returned to volunteering with. My friends Linda and Patricia. Teresa Martinez, who'd become a family friend over the past 3 years. And then I saw Elizabeth. She looked different, happier, lighter. Her hair was shorter, she was holding hands with a woman about her age, and when she saw me, she smiled tentatively. I smiled back and waved her over. Grace, thank you for being okay with me coming, Elizabeth said softly. I know my presence might bring up difficult memories. You're part of our story, I said simply. The part where someone found courage to do the right thing. I'm glad you're here. Elizabeth's girlfriend, whose name was Rachel, squeezed her hand. Elizabeth talks about Marcus all the time. About how his bravery inspired her to finally live authentically. She's been waiting for this day. The ceremony began promptly at 4 p.m. David walked down the aisle first, escorted by both his parents, looking nervous and joyful. He took his place under the flower-covered archway, practically vibrating with excitement. Then it was our turn. Marcus took my arm, and we began walking down the aisle. I could feel him trembling slightly, and I squeezed his arm reassuringly. As we walked, I saw him looking at the faces of everyone who'd come to support them. Friends who'd stood by him. Family who loved him. People who wanted nothing but his happiness. When we reached the front, David was crying, happy tears streaming down his face. The officiant asked, "Who gives this man to be married?" "I do," I said clearly, my voice strong despite my own tears. With joy and gratitude. I kissed Marcus's cheek and took my seat. The ceremony was beautiful and personal. David and Marcus had written their own vows, and when Marcus spoke, his voice was steady and sure. David, 3 years ago, I didn't think I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. I'd been hurt badly, and I'd learned that sometimes people pretend to love you for their own gain. But then I met you, and slowly, carefully, you showed me what real love looks like. Love that doesn't ask me to hide. Love that celebrates who I am rather than trying to change me. Love that involves both our families and doesn't exist in secrets and shadows. You've given me back my faith in love, in partnership, in building a real future with someone. I promise to honor that gift every day for the rest of our lives. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. David's vows were equally moving. Marcus, you're the bravest person I know. Not because you survived something terrible, though you did. But because after surviving it, you were still willing to try again. You were still willing to believe that love could be good and honest and safe. Thank you for trusting me with your heart. I promise to guard it carefully, to be worthy of your trust every single day, and to build a life with you that's everything you deserve and more. When the officiant pronounced them married and they kissed, the entire audience erupted in applause. Marcus and David walked back down the aisle hand in hand, beaming, and I felt a weight I'd been carrying for years finally lift completely. The reception was held in the garden's event space, a beautiful room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the flowers. During dinner, several people gave toasts. David's father spoke about how happy he was to gain Marcus as a son. Marcus's best friend David, confusingly, they shared a name, told funny stories about helping Marcus get through his darkest days and watching him slowly return to himself. Then it was my turn. I stood up, holding my glass, and looked at my son sitting there with his husband. 3 years ago, I fought a battle to save my son from someone who was hurting him. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, because Marcus didn't want to be saved at first. He thought I was interfering, that I didn't trust his judgment, that I was trying to control his life. And there were moments when I wondered if I was doing the right thing. When I wondered if fighting so hard would cost me our relationship forever. I paused, gathering my emotions. But I want every parent here to understand something. Sometimes love means fighting for your child even when they don't want you to. Sometimes love means being the villain in their story for a while because you can see danger they can't see. Sometimes love means risking everything because protecting them matters more than being liked. I looked at Marcus. And I want every child here, whether you're 8 or 80, to understand something too. If you're lucky enough to have someone in your life who fights for you that way, who loves you enough to risk your anger and your rejection to keep you safe, hold on to them. Trust them. Listen to them. Because that kind of love is rare and precious. I raised my glass. Marcus, I fought for you because you're my son and I would do anything to protect you. David, thank you for being the person I was fighting to help Marcus find. Thank you for showing him what love should be. To Marcus and David, may your marriage be filled with honesty, joy, and love that never asks either of you to be anything less than your authentic selves. Everyone raised their glasses. To Marcus and David. After the toasts, there was dancing. I watched Marcus and David's first dance, they'd chosen at last by Etta James, because David said that's how he felt when he met Marcus. At last, he'd found someone who felt like home. Later in the evening, Elizabeth approached me at the dessert table. Grace, I need to tell you something. I've been wanting to say this for a long time. What is it? You saved more than just Marcus. Watching you fight for your son, seeing you refuse to give up even when it was hard, that's what gave me the courage to come forward. If you could risk everything for someone you loved, I could risk everything to stop something evil. You inspired me to finally do the right thing. I hugged her. We saved each other, Elizabeth. You warned Marcus about that power of attorney. You gave testimony that put James and his father away. You broke the cycle. You're a hero too. As the night went on, I found myself thinking about James, currently serving his sentence in federal prison. I'd heard through Teresa that he was actually doing well, he'd gotten into therapy, was working on his GED to teach other inmates, was genuinely trying to understand and address the trauma that had shaped him into someone capable of hurting others. I didn't forgive him. I might never forgive him. But I could acknowledge that he was trying to change, and that was something. At the end of the night, as Marcus and David prepared to leave for their honeymoon in Hawaii, Marcus found me. Mom, I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. Thank you. For everything. For fighting for me. For never giving up. For showing me what it means to love someone unconditionally. David and we want to name our first kid after you. When we adopt or use a surrogate, whenever that happens, our daughter will be Grace. I started crying again. You're going to make me cry through all my mascara. Good. You've earned some happy tears. Marcus hugged me tightly. I love you, Mom. Thank you for being exactly who you are. As I watched them drive away, tin cans rattling behind their car, I felt a sense of completion. We'd been through hell and come out the other side. We'd faced down a predator and his corrupt family. We'd survived manipulation and threats and legal battles. And now, Marcus was married to someone who truly loved him. He was happy. He was safe. He was free. Tomorrow, I would go back to my quiet life as a librarian. But tonight, I was the mother of the groom, dancing with my friends and celebrating a love story that had earned its happy ending. 6 months after the wedding, I received a phone call that would bring everything full circle in a way I never expected. "Is this Grace Chen?" A woman's voice, professional and warm. "Yes, who's calling?" "My name is Dr. Sarah Martinez. I'm a psychologist specializing in trauma recovery and abuse survivors. I've been following your son's case and the testimony from the trial. I'm writing a book about financial and emotional abuse in relationships, particularly targeting vulnerable populations. I was wondering if you and Marcus would be willing to be interviewed." I paused, considering. What would the interview involve? "I want to tell stories of survival and recovery. Stories that help other people recognize the signs of manipulation before it's too late. Your story, both yours and Marcus's, could help save others from similar situations. Would you consider it?" I talked to Marcus that evening. His immediate response surprised me. "I want to do it," he said firmly. "Mom, if our story can help even one person recognize what's happening to them and get out sooner, it's worth it." 2 weeks later, Dr. Martinez came to Denver and spent a full day interviewing both of us. She asked detailed questions about the relationship with James, about how the manipulation worked, about what red flags we'd noticed, and about how we'd fought back. But she also asked about recovery, about healing, about how Marcus had learned to trust again, about how our relationship had survived the strain of those difficult months when Marcus had pushed me away. "What advice would you give to other parents who see their adult children in harmful relationships?" Dr. Martinez asked me. I thought carefully before answering. "Trust your instincts, but be strategic. If you come in too hard, too critical, you'll push your child toward the abuser because the abuser will use your concern as proof that your family doesn't understand or support them. Document everything you can. Build a case with evidence rather than just opinions. And maintain your relationship with your child no matter what, because when they're ready to leave, they need to know they have somewhere safe to come home to." And Marcus, Dr. Martinez turned to my son, "What advice would you give to someone who's currently in a relationship like yours was with James?" "Listen to the people who love you," Marcus said. "If multiple people you trust are expressing concern about your partner, there's probably a reason. Pay attention to your own feelings. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells, if you're censoring yourself, if you're cutting people off to please your partner, those are signs something is wrong. And know that leaving is possible. It's scary, but it's possible. There are people who will help you." Dr. Martinez's book was published 8 months later. It was called Hidden Chains: Recognizing and Escaping Financial and Emotional Abuse. Marcus and I were featured prominently, though we'd been given the option to use pseudonyms. We chose to use our real names. "We already went public during the trial," Marcus reasoned. "Might as well use our real story to help others." The book became a bestseller. Dr. Martinez was invited to speak on talk shows, at universities, at domestic violence prevention conferences. And everywhere she went, she told our story as an example of how abuse can look polished and sophisticated, how predators can come from wealthy families and prestigious careers. A year after the book was published, I received an email from a young man named Chris. He was 24, living in Seattle, and he'd just started dating a man from a wealthy family who was pressuring him to move faster than he was comfortable with. "I read your story in Dr. Martinez's book," Chris wrote. "And I recognized so many warning signs. The way he wants me to stop talking to my parents. The way he's offered to help with my student loans by having me give him access to my accounts. The way he's already talking about power of attorney for estate planning purposes. Because of your story, I'm seeing these red flags for what they are. I'm ending the relationship. You saved me from potentially years of manipulation and abuse. Thank you." I shared the email with Marcus. We both cried. "We did it," Marcus said. "We turned something horrible into something that's actually helping people." Over the next 2 years, we received dozens of similar messages. People who'd recognized abuse patterns because of our story. People who'd gotten out before it was too late. Parents who'd known how to help their children because of the strategies we'd discussed. Marcus and I started volunteering together with a local LGBTQ+ organization that focused on healthy relationships and abuse prevention. We did workshops for young people about financial safety in relationships, about recognizing manipulation, about maintaining your identity and support system even when you're in love. During one workshop, a young man raised his hand. "How do you learn to trust again after something like that happens?" Marcus answered thoughtfully. "You start small. You let people earn your trust gradually. You pay attention to whether their actions match their words. You maintain your friendships and family relationships so you're not isolated. And you do the internal work, therapy, self-reflection, to understand why you were vulnerable to that kind of manipulation in the first place. Not to blame yourself, but to recognize your patterns so you can make different choices going forward." Meanwhile, James remained in prison. I'd heard through Elizabeth, who we'd stayed in touch with, that he continued to do well. He'd completed multiple therapy programs, earned his GED, and was working toward a college degree through a prison education program. He'd also started leading a support group for inmates dealing with trauma from abusive families. I'd received one letter from him about a year after the wedding. It was short. "Grace, I heard about Marcus's wedding through my attorney. I'm genuinely happy for him. He deserves joy after what I put him through. I'm working every day to become someone different from who I was. Someone who could never hurt another person the way I hurt Marcus and the others. I know it doesn't undo anything, but I wanted you to know. And I wanted to say again, thank you for being the mother I wish I'd had. Maybe if I had, things would have been different. James." I didn't respond to the letter, but I kept it. Not for James, but for Marcus, in case he ever wanted to see it. He did eventually, about 2 years after receiving it. "I think he's genuine," Marcus said after reading it. "I think prison and therapy are actually helping him understand what he did and why. I'm not ready to forgive him, and I might never be. But I can acknowledge that he's trying to change. That's very mature of you. I learned it from watching you. You taught me that people are complex. That someone can do terrible things and still be human. That we can acknowledge someone's humanity without excusing their actions." By the time this story catches up to the present day, 5 years have passed since Marcus's wedding to David. They adopted a daughter 2 years ago, a beautiful little girl they named Grace, as promised. She's 3 now, full of energy and curiosity, and she calls me Grandma. Marcus and David are happy. They have a life full of love and authenticity, surrounded by friends and family who celebrate them. They own a house with a garden where they grow vegetables and flowers. They host Sunday brunches where everyone is welcome. Elizabeth married her girlfriend, Rachel, in a small ceremony last year. She runs her foundation full-time now, helping survivors of financial abuse rebuild their lives. She and Marcus have become genuine friends, bonded by their shared experience of escaping James's web. Michael Torres, James's earlier victim, also reached out after the book was published. He's doing well, in therapy, in a healthy relationship, rebuilding his career. He thanked us for coming forward because it helped him finally process his own trauma and realize it wasn't his fault. As for me, I'm still working at the library. Still doing my workshops on healthy relationships. Still being a grandmother to little Grace, who looks at me with such trust and love that it heals something inside me every time. Last week, Marcus called me with news. "Mom, David and I want to adopt another child. Grace needs a sibling. And we were thinking, if it's a boy, we'd like to name him Robert, after Dad." I felt tears spring to my eyes. Robert, my late husband, who died when Marcus was just 12. Your father would be so honored. I know he wasn't perfect. I know he struggled with my sexuality. But he loved me, and he tried his best. I want to honor that. And I want my kids to know that their grandpa Robert existed, even if he never got to meet them. He would have loved them, I said. And Marcus? He would be so proud of who you've become. So proud of how you survived and rebuilt and found real love. Today, as I sit here telling you this story, I'm thinking about that text I received 5 years ago. The text that started this whole nightmare: "Don't come to my wedding. My wife doesn't want to see you." That text broke my heart. But it also set in motion a chain of events that saved my son's life. Because I didn't accept that text. I didn't step back and let Marcus marry James. I fought. I investigated. I gathered evidence. I refused to give up. And because I fought, Marcus is alive and happy and married to someone who truly loves him. Because I fought, James and his father are in prison where they can't hurt anyone else. Because I fought, Elizabeth found freedom and authentic love. Because I fought, Michael got validation and healing. Sometimes love means fighting. Sometimes love means being willing to be the villain in someone's story temporarily so you can be the hero of their life long term. Sometimes love means trusting your instincts even when everyone tells you you're wrong. I want every parent watching this to understand: if you see your child in danger, fight for them. Fight smart, fight strategically, fight with evidence and documentation. But fight. Because your child needs you, even if they don't know it yet. And I want every person watching this who might be in a manipulative relationship to understand: you deserve better. You deserve someone who celebrates you publicly, who never asks you to hide, who builds you up rather than tearing you down. If people you trust are expressing concerns, listen to them. They might be seeing something you can't see because you're too close to it. The text message I received the night before Marcus and James's original wedding, the text that said, "Mom, you were right, that was worth everything. Every fight, every risk, every sleepless night. All of it was worth it to hear those words and know my son was finally safe." Before I end this story, I want to say thank you to everyone who's been with me through this entire journey. This story has traveled further than I ever imagined. Please, take a moment right now to tell me in the comments where you're watching from, whether you're in New York or Tokyo, Lagos or London, Mumbai or Mexico City. I want to see how far this story has reached. And tell me what part of this story grabbed you the most. Was it when I first discovered James's secret marriage? When Marcus finally confronted him? When the FBI got involved? When we all came together for Marcus's real wedding? Let me know in the comments what resonated with you. If this story moved you, if it made you think differently about protecting the people you love, if it gave you courage to trust your instincts about someone in your life, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And please subscribe to my channel. I share stories like this, true stories about survival, about family, about fighting for what's right even when it's hard. Stories that remind us that good can triumph over evil, that truth matters, and that love, real love, is worth fighting for. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Remember, trust your instincts, protect the people you love, and never underestimate a mother's determination to save her child. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. And if you see something wrong, say something. Do something. Fight for the truth. Because you never know whose life you might save. From my family to yours, thank you. And remember to subscribe, I have more stories to share, and you won't want to miss them.